South Asia Summit. My name is Mark Pilling. I'm the managing editor. I'm a managing editor within the Aviation Week Network. And as the program director for Aviation India, it's my privilege to chair the summit in this incredible country. This event, Aviation India, is organised by Times Aerospace. Mark Brown is here, the MD, to talk to you. And it's in partnership with the MRO Association of India, so thank you both. This summit is designed to give us an insight into how India is shaping the pathway for Indian aviation. And this is certainly an industry transforming at pace. That you all will agree with that, I'm sure. The aim of this summit is to create the definitive annual gathering of India's commercial aviation industry. This is number 2, the difficult second album, as I like to call it. We'll see what happens next year with number 3. But as you know, India has it all. It's the 3rd largest economy on the planet now. See, Peter, I listen to your briefings pretty closely. Right? 3rd largest economy on the planet. A population hungry to travel by air, and a wonderful geographic position. Now, 2025, this year, has been a monumental year for Indian aviation so far, with significant events in every month. No more so than in Delhi in June, when Prime Minister Modi took to the podium at the IATA AGM to speak of his commitment and his conviction that India's aviation star is rising. Of course, a few days later, we had the tragic crash of AI-171. Over the next 2 days here in Delhi, we're going to gather. We gather to reflect and consider the way forward for Indian aviation. And your presence in the numbers here, and I expect to see more people, the doors will keep opening, more people will be coming in as they fight the Delhi traffic. But as a testament to your ambition is your desire, India's passion for this country and for this market to enter a new era. And in that era, the modern aviation and aerospace hub that India deserves will emerge. And as the leaders here will explain, it is on its way. It's already being built. Yes, there are challenges, of course, big ones. But the plain truth, in my opinion, who am I? But anyway, is that India will get there. Imagine what we'll be speaking of if we come to one of these in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. You know, India's going places, right? And that's what we're going to talk about. It's a rich market. It's all about mining that market, mobilizing talent, investing wisely and backing the best leaders. I think the aviation ecosystem, as I've definitely learned over the last 2 years and the last year working on this event, has leadership in abundance, as we'll hear over the next 2 days. So, we've got the CEOs of all of India's major carriers here, speaking on stage, and many of its leading aviation businesses and its industrial concerns. They're here. We thank them for their support, we thank them for their presence. Big thank you too to our 30 sponsors, our exhibitors, 50 or so speakers, and believe it or not, even though the room isn't full yet, it will get fuller. There are 800 delegates registered for this Aviation India event. So let's get on with hearing from the people that matter. Without any more ado, let's welcome Pieter Elbers, the CEO of IndiGo, to the stage. India's adopted Dutchman. Pieter, come up on stage. Please give Pieter a hand. I know he can jump up here because he's probably one of the fittest CEO. Only Rob Fife of Air New Zealand probably looks fitter than you. Am I right?
Thank you, Mark.
You remember him?
Yes.
Doing a hacker at the AGM.
Yeah, but I won't.
You're not going to do a hacker?
No.
Okay, thank you. Peter.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for being here. So why don't we start with a little video, please? Thank you.
This is India's moment, a bold, new India, a powerhouse that is the world's fastest growing nation, a country on its course to become the world's third largest economic force by 2027. And India, where ancient heritage and diversity meets cutting-edge technology. Where every Indian dares to dream and dream big. As the nation takes off, it is IndiGo that gives wings to the nation. Connecting people and aspirations. Today, we are the 7th largest in the world in daily flights and flew over 118 million customers last year, with more than 2,200 flights taking off daily. With that, we welcome 1 million delighted customers every 3 days. And yet, we exceeded expectations with continued operational excellence. We elevated our customer experience through digital transformation, be it 6E Sky or booking via our website and app. With a network of over 130 destinations, our wings span across 90 plus domestic and 40 plus international destinations and 50 plus destinations worldwide with our strategic code-share partnerships. We're not just expanding, we're breaking record with the single largest order of 500 aircraft. We've set a new benchmark in Indian aviation. That's not all. We placed an order for 30 Airbus A350 aircraft, marking our bold entry into the wide-body era. We are poised to reshape the future of Indian aviation. We redefined air travel for India by launching IndiGo Stretch, a tailored business product on our busiest routes, and introduced IndiGo Blue Chip, which in no time has soared to over 3 million members. Not just planes, we reach out with our hearts through our CSR initiatives. With one of the world's youngest fleets of fuel-efficient aircraft and e-buses, we ensure carbon-neutral progress. Every IndiGo cargo flight carries more than just packages. It fuels economic growth. We've sustainably democratized air travel, making flying accessible to all, and are passionately driven by girl power and diversity. With 220 plus PWD professionals steering us higher every day. From taking pride in being Indian to taking pride in being made in IndiGo, we are uplifted by the collective spirit of our 6E stars and the power of we. Passionately consistent, service from the heart, and delivering an always safe experience unfailingly. This is what IndiGo delivers without fail. And yet, we are a profitable airline with a network as ambitious and diverse as the country we serve. IndiGo doesn't just move people, it carries an ambitious nation forward. It is a promise etched in every flight towards new heights across new frontiers. This is India by IndiGo.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everyone. A warm welcome for those coming from overseas. Welcome to India, welcome to Delhi. It's perhaps not the best time of the year to visit Delhi, but still a warm welcome to all of you in Delhi. Mark, thank you for organizing this. Congratulations for getting this audience together. It's really, really nice. Perhaps just before we go to the fireside chat, just a few words on where IndiGo is standing and what's the direction we're taking. I think for those coming from overseas, everyone living here in the nation itself is very familiar with it. But India is the right place to be at this point in time for aviation. And I think the video just shows it. The growth is unprecedented, and Mark, you were almost correct. We're almost the third largest economy in the world. That's by 27 only. Today it is number 4 and will be number 3 by 27 only. So if you see to the growth of the country, and I like the line in the video here, IndiGo doesn't just carry people, it carries the ambitions of a nation forward. And the growth of India and the growth of IndiGo is deeply connected and interconnected. And there's many countries in the world still struggling to come to levels in aviation prior to COVID. I'm very glad to say that IndiGo has moved from 77 million customers on an annual basis prior to COVID to 180 million we welcomed last year. So that's just a 50% increase compared to that situation back then. The timing could not have been better. Actually, Mark, we launched our flights into London and our return into China this Sunday. Obviously a very important moment for us. I think for every airline in the world, landing in London, it means something, and more than just a destination. It kind of is a reflection of your network and your expanding network. So for us, the start in London this Sunday was really important, and obviously the reintroduction of flights from Kolkata into China was also happening this Sunday. And Sunday was a wonderful day because we started the winter season, the IATA winter season, with a total of 610 routes. That is 60 more routes as compared to last year. So that number in itself is just an enormous increase. So 80 more destinations compared to last year, 12 international, 6 domestic, but a total of 60 more routes. And just as a reflection, today we operate 600 routes, 470 domestic, and the remaining ones international. So I think that's just a reflection and perhaps an introduction, Mark, to what all we're going to talk about here. Once again, a warm welcome to India, those from overseas, and the ones from India. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, Pieter. Come sit down. Come sit down. You don't clap into. It's amazing on there. Already in 18 years, 18 and a half or whatever it is, you're already the 7th largest carrier by ASKs. I forget which one.
No, we are. I mean, the numbers are as follows. IndiGo was founded 19 years ago, so the next year is going to be very exciting. We're no longer a teenager next year. We'll be turning 20 years young in the summer of next year. And in those 19 years, we've become the 7th largest airline in the world in terms of daily departures. I think in terms of passenger numbers, it's pretty similar, but 7th largest airline in the world in terms of daily departures. In the video, you saw 2,200. By now, it's 2,300 actually. The winter season, we started with 2,300 daily flights every day, which is a phenomenal number. Whenever I'm in our operations control center and 11 o'clock in the morning and I look at the screen, some 800 flights have left already. Yeah. So that's just a reflection of the enormous size. I think by now, what time is it? 10:32, we should have had like 700 flights who already left and operated for the day.
I'm just thinking of all the rupees that come all the time.
Yeah, but they're rupees, not dollars.
Yes, then we get onto this, because the great thing is, I was with you in Manchester when we launched Manchester in July?
1st of July.
1st of July, thank you. Because now you've got Manchester, you've got Amsterdam,
yeah.
You've got Copenhagen, what's the other international?
London.
I live there. London, yeah. I do live there. The great international drive is underway. The thing, not that you came to do, because you came to run IndiGo, but this was the big target. So how happy are you that it started in this big way?
No, I'm very excited about that. And when I joined IndiGo, we had like 23 international destinations, and we started this IATA winter season with 43. So it's about double in the last 3 years. But that number in itself, I think, is just a reflection of the enormous opportunity which is out there. And for a long time, for probably a whole host of reasons, a lot of the Indian international traffic was channeled through hubs outside the geographical scope of India itself. So the opportunity to have direct flights is just enormous. So the strategy for us really was first to beef up the number of routes in the region itself. I think Singapore is a great example. 3 years back we were flying to Singapore from 3 Indian cities, today from 9. Abu Dhabi, we used to have 35 flights a week, today we're at like 115. So those are kind of numbers reflecting the enormous growth we did in the region. But that's not it. And geographically, the further you move away from India, the lower the market share gets from Indian operators. And if you take Europe, there's like 70% of the seats provided by European operators, 30% by Indian operators. So I think the opportunity for Indian operators like IndiGo to get a part of that pie is enormous. And the response, for example, from Manchester has been overwhelming. Amsterdam is a bit more crowded market, but even there the response has been very positive, not only for India, but even in connection. So we're very excited with this international expansion. I mean, Manchester was great, Copenhagen was equally great, and clearly London this Sunday was very exciting for IndiGo to land for the first time ever in London.
And just tell us about how, you mentioned a bit about the bookings and that, but just, to give us a bit more colour on booking levels. Are you able to get a reasonable yield at the moment? I'm sorry I get a bit techie here, but is it, and also your forward bookings on the newer routes?
Well, you saw Campbell walking out of the room, so I can now tell about yields and loads and everything. But in general, I think the response has been very, very positive. And where we see that a lot of Indian travelers now starting to shift their mind that they can fly non-stop from Indian cities to many of these places where prior there was no non-stop connection. Manchester, you always had to transfer somewhere. Now we have Mumbai, Manchester, and Delhi, Manchester coming up as well. So that's a very positive response. Amsterdam, for example, we find a lot of travelers using India as a transit point to other places. And that's very helpful, and I would say very much in line also with the philosophy of the Indian government to turn India into a global aviation hub. And if you're soon the third largest economy in the world, if you're obviously the largest growing aviation market in the world, if your geographical position is such that 65% of the world population lives within a 5 to 6 hour range of India itself, there's no reason why we cannot develop proper hubs in India. And I think slowly we start to see that. And then the geographical opportunities for Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, I think provide that opportunity to further build on that.
And building up those international routes, Pieter, it's not something you do from a standing start. You've been very deliberate with the way that you've tackled your international partnerships, your partnerships with other carriers, whether that's to get access to slots and access to certain airports or to get access to traffic flows. Just talk a bit about the importance of that, and presumably you're not a difficult sell when you come say, we're IndiGo, we want to partner with you, or...
Well, the network IndiGo is having in India is unparalleled. The fact that in India we fly 470 routes, 94 destinations in India itself. The fact that 90% of the Indian population lives within 100 kilometers of an IndiGo served airport. So I would say we're a pan-Indian operator. And again, look at that statistic, 1.45 billion people, largest population on planet Earth. 90% of that population lives within 100 kilometers of an IndiGo served airport. That opportunity is a great asset for foreign operators to connect to that network. So I think historically IndiGo was providing that connections to foreign operators coming into India. Increasingly, we ask for a return of that favor in connecting to other parts. And for example, with KLM, we have now a certain set 20 to 25 beyond destinations, and clearly for us to come to not only to fly to Manchester and London ourselves, but to have connections to Leeds, Bradford, to all these smaller sort of communities are really helping us to build that position. And I think in addition, the IndiGo brand and the IndiGo awareness is huge in India. It's a household brand, if you wish. For the Indian diaspora, it's huge. But for a lot of non-Indian overseas customers, it is a sort of new kid on the block. The opportunity for us to start making those code shares and getting that brand and market awareness there is really helpful.
Thank you. China as well, it's been closed obviously for quite a long time, resuming there, but resuming is great, but you're obviously launching too. What's the great potential, of course?
Well, I think the potential is something which is perhaps difficult to put in precise numbers. If you take the two populations together and the two economic sizes together, it's just massive, right? And with the barring Hong Kong for the last 5 years, there were no flights between India and mainland China. So if you take that factor, that statistic, and even though the trade balances today are still rather modest, but the opportunity going out there is massive. So we're very confident on, and actually very grateful for the two governments to sort of allow flights between the countries. So we started this Sunday with the very first flight, reintroduced a flight from Kolkata into Guangzhou. That started this Sunday. And on November 10 we will launch flights, so that's in 2 weeks from now. We'll start flights from Delhi into Guangzhou, and clearly for us the ambition is to start connecting that. And again here, the geographical position where IndiGo has a significant set of Airbus XLRs on order, which pretty much allow to cover from a lot of different Indian cities to cover a lot of fairly sized Chinese cities. And you know, if you take India with 60 to 65 cities with a population of more than 1 million, the opportunity to connect it to similar cities in China without going to all kinds of hubs is just massive.
I mean, one of the things that occurs to me as I look at the international expansion is what is the right pace for India to move to sort of a more liberalised, open skies type of environment. I'm sure we'll talk about it later on Willie's panel, but I wonder what your view is, you know, and how you talk to the government and your other peers around trying, I say to influence that, but just what is your view?
My view is that there's, you know, India for a long time had a situation whereby the capacity share for non-Indian operators was significantly larger than the capacity share from Indian operators, whereas the market is pretty much here. And there's a number of countries where the market is, let's say, 90% in India or 95% in India, and the terms of seat capacity is exactly the opposite. And you know, if a country doesn't have operators to operate it, it's you know, it could be justified. But I think today's India, with a set of operators who are committed to build this into a long-term venture, it's not a short-term thing. So I think this is a long-term venture. If you just take the fleet orders of the Indian operators, you know, IndiGo being one of them, but look at the entire landscape and you know, for a minute talk on behalf of the Indian operators, the size of fleet orders is enormous. So the commitments we've collectively made to invest billions and billions and billions of dollars into building that infrastructure in the air, and the government and private operators are building that infrastructure in the ground, we must make sure that we can operate that. And I think as long as the traffic rights still have room to operate, we'll fill that room actually. Quite a few countries over the last few years have updated their service agreement. With Thailand, the agreement has been done with Kuwait, with Indonesia. So I think the image which some like to portray that India is not giving any traffic rights is just wrong. India is giving selective traffic rights wherever it makes sense to allocate those traffic rights. So I would say the opportunity is out there, the traffic rights are being given, but in a way where it's taking into consideration whether they're consumed on both sides and what is the sort of the overall equation of doing that. And in that landscape, new deals, and again I mentioned Indonesia, Kuwait, Thailand, so they're all moved in that direction.
So I get the feeling you're pretty comfortable with the pace at which that market or that, you know, that government move is going. You approve of it.
Well, it's not for me to approve anything from the government, but what is for me is to provide input, and the input is we have put out massive orders as Indian operators, and IndiGo certainly the largest massive order. The video still said 30 wide bodies. We have actually doubled that to 60 already, so that's just a massive number. And for that, obviously, we need traffic rights. But if there are still certain destinations where 90% of the seats are being operated by non-Indian operators and 10% of the seats are being operated by us, I think then the opportunity first to fill those seats and then to talk about potential further expansions is the right sequencing. And again here, a couple of examples demonstrate that the Indian government is taking the right steps when it comes to, you know, opening these markets whenever it's there.
Thank you for that input. It's a subtle one, it's a tricky one, but it has to go at the right pace for our country, doesn't it?
Well, it's I would say it requires a balanced approach and taking all the different angles and all the different inputs. And again, looking how today India is moving forward, and if on the one hand side, our country is investing billions and billions of dollars in infrastructure, in aircraft, we need also to make sure that the airlines can stand up for that competition and actually operate it. And I'm very convinced, and there, you know, speaking about IndiGo, that we can compete in the international arena. And our first flights into Europe are actually showing that, our flights in the Middle East are showing that, our flights in Southeast Asia are showing that. But you need to walk before you run. And I think what we have been doing in the past 3 years is making sure that we can walk. So we have done a lot of work on IndiGo. We have introduced a loyalty program. We have introduced a premium product. We have introduced all kinds of aspects, a lot of IT and technology investments to make sure that we can start competing on an international scale. It's a very different equation to compete domestic as to compete international. I think we're getting ready for that next round of competition.
And all the time, thank you, Pieter, and all the time you don't forget the bread and butter of your business, which is your domestic strength, which is densifying that network, this serving the new airports as well. Just talk about, not losing focus, if you like, on, your bread and butter as well as doing the sort of the sexy international stuff.
Yeah, no, thank you for addressing that. And
I'm not just saying it to be clever, it's a reality of your business mix, isn't it?
It is, and I think there's plenty of examples in the history of aviation where operators kind of lost track or lost focus on the very foundation of who they are, what they are, and for us, the Indian market is indeed the bread and butter. It is the very foundation of the operation we have, and the fact that we fly 20 a day, 40 sectors between Delhi and Mumbai, 15 to Bangalore, 14 to Hyderabad. So those are the huge numbers, but the expansion of the overall network is really that connectivity, and the fact that we have now 94 destinations in the country. I think that will slowly creep up, but we come to a point where I guess we have a saturation in terms of number of airports. The next step, and that's why all the investments which are made by both government and private operators so important, is to have bigger airports and airports who allow connectivity. And that is the next stage of doing that, because still domestic connectivity is still a massive number. And if you want to go from Dharamshala to Chennai, it's going to be a long time before we have a flight from Dharamshala to Chennai, because that's an ATR operation, it will never go to Chennai. So you have to connect somewhere. So in that mindset of all these traffic flows, and from Bihar, the airports in Bihar to Goa, that connectivity network will continue to be there. So what we are doing is in fact expanding on two axes. One is scale. We're going to double by the end of the decade, which means our 118 million customers would move to 200 million by the end of the decade. That's a number which will bring us to the likes of the huge American operators, and there's no reason why India, with this population, with this economy, should not have airlines of the same size. So one is doubling in size, and that will still have a significant domestic growth and development, more in frequencies than in destinations. And secondly is all the new stuff we're doing in internationalization, cargo, loyalty, and MRO is our next big frontier to start developing.
And all of this doesn't happen, of course. I'm just going to check the time because we did start. We're doing fine. None of this happens without your production capability. But I just want to reflect on one thing first. And you mention it, of course, in all your earnings calls, which obviously I'm very diligent in listening into, and I think there's one next week as well.
Yeah.
You always guide on the GTF groundings. And I just wanted a reflection from you on just, you almost talk about it now as it's like, well, groundings, it's like, almost like, it is it's part of the business, doing business. But it is a remarkable loss of production capability in one foul swoop over these airlines that isn't flying.
Mark, if you have like 40 planes grounded, it's a terrible number. But by expressing each and every earnings call how much are grounded, or today on stage being extremely frustrated about it, it doesn't bring any of these planes back in production. Right? So we are discussing it obviously with the suppliers, and we put all our emphasis, and that's exactly what I voice in these calls. We put all our emphasis in mitigating measures and making sure that we got the right airlift in place. And over the past 3 years, when this problem started to surface, we have actually done such a wide range of initiatives in terms of damp leases, lease extensions, temporary rentals, bringing back aircraft, that each and every quarter we kind of live up to our capacity guidance. So rather than of the supply chain in the industry today, and we put all our efforts, and I'm incredibly proud and grateful to the IndiGo teams who each and every time find solutions in bringing aircraft in, delivering our capacity guidance, and are able to grow. You know, and you're right, it's the size of a reasonable airline, but it should not stop us from our ambition to keep growing, keep serving the market, keep moving forward. And I think we have demonstrated that for the past 3 years, and will continue to do so. I think another thing where IndiGo is perhaps in a better spot than some others, we got a new plane coming in each and every week. So every Friday or Monday or whatever, you pick the day of the week, every day of that particular week, the next week and the next week and the next week. Last year we got 58 new aircraft coming in. 58. So that means every week a new plane comes in, and you know, every week we have sort of alternative capacity coming to address that. So as upset as I am about these AOGs, it should not divert our attention from the core objective: running the airline, growing the airline, expanding the airline, serving our customers. That's, I think, where the focus is.
Thank you. But I did notice that Volaris said that by the end of 27 they expect their whole fleet to be back. Have you said when you expect the whole fleet to be back?
You know, I think it's already challenging to predict a quarter, leave alone to predict to the end of 27. What I know is that by the end of 27, which is basically another, 26 months from now, 26 times 4, we have received another 100 plus Airbuses. That's where the focus is. So we have a capacity guidance for 27. We'll live up to that. We got the XLRs coming in the end of December, early Jan. We're very excited that we'll give new opportunities. We'll coming back to the network expansion. We start flying to Athens from both Delhi and Mumbai. That's the next milestone we're going to do. So the focus really is keep growing. We'll deal with it, and these conversations are not the most pleasant ones, but the focus is moving forward.
Yeah, no, it's real. It's a real thing to deal with, of course. You mentioned the XLRs. First one in December. Then what's your stream after that?
That's part of the discussion we're having with Airbus, and for me, the sooner the better they come in. And again, the opportunities for the XLR are, in fact, I would say threefold. It will provide us the range for totally new destinations. I think Athens is a great example. Our today's aircraft don't bring us all the way to Athens. Now we can start flying to Athens. So that's a great opportunity. That's one. Two, it will also allow us to move to destinations which are currently served out of certain parts of India. Nairobi, I think, is a good example. We fly today from Mumbai to Nairobi. Delhi is too far. This will allow us to fly to Delhi to Nairobi. Same goes for Bangalore. So there's a Bangalore to Bali that will allow us Delhi Bali. So that's another opportunity. And then clearly China, I would say, is the third one where huge opportunities are arising with the XLR. So that will open up a whole new range of opportunities for IndiGo.
How many do you hope to get next year? How many do you want? I know you want as many as you can, but like 10?
Exactly. Again, we have not published any specific number, and I have no intention to do so today.
Fine, no, that's fine.
I have to ask, but no, you have to ask. That's fine. I'm not sure if Elbers is in the room, but the more we can get, the better it is.
Yeah,
that's good.
They know that.
Yeah.
And the same goes for the 350s, of course. I mean, obviously you're using the interim 787s, and you've got 3, I think, today. The other 3 coming over the next 6-7 months or something.
You know, when we enjoyed, when we discussed with the board in 22, you know, what's the strategic direction of IndiGo? The philosophy was we should build it into a global airline, and an airline which is representing the size and the opportunity of the country itself. And there's more than one, obviously. And wide bodies clearly are an integral part of that vision. So we took the bold move to order 30, but that was in 27 delivery stream only. Actually, over the last couple of months, we have signed first an MOU, and 10 days back we have confirmed that MOU into a firm order. So we have 60 wide bodies on order now, which again, for a country of this size, for us to order 60 wide bodies is still, I would say, a very first step of something which can grow into much bigger. You know, my previous company, we had a country which is 80 times smaller in terms of population as compared to India. We had 65 wide bodies. So the opportunity for us to build on that is just enormous. But they are only 27, 28 time frame, and we didn't clearly want to wait for that. India is in a hurry, and so is IndiGo. So we indeed picked a batch of temporarily Dampleys 787s. 3 of them are in operation. They fly now to exactly the destinations we alluded to earlier: Amsterdam, Manchester, Copenhagen, and now London. And we'll have 6 before this financial year is over.
And then the 350s will be coming in 27.
Yeah. You know,
they can't bring them forward a little bit, Pieter?
No, that's the same story as the XLR. The sooner the better, and we'll be very, very keen to start bringing them in and start serving them. And we're not ruling out any other sort of intermediate solutions to come to that. I think the opportunity for us, Elbers is coming in.
Greetings, Jürgen.
The opportunity for us to start building that is just enormous.
Thank you.
He was just asking me how many XLRs do we want next year, and I said, wait for Elbers in the room and we'll get the answer.
He hasn't told us. He has told us the number actually. Just we'll tell you later. Nice to meet you. We haven't met yet, so he's already thinking, oh my God, who's this guy on stage? We will have a couple of questions in a second. I'll just get up so I can see. So if we do have the mics in the room, Pieter's would like to take a couple of questions. Very happy about that. We'll get in a second. We'll come to you, sir. When we go to the questions, please make it a question and not a statement, because I'll probably stop you. But Pieter, just while we get the questions brewing, you know, we talked about IndiGo's unique business model. You've become a 10 billion revenue company. I mean, this is significant. You've got a pretty cool rating from one of the Fitch or somebody. You know, these are sort of big boy airline steps. But I think the question is,
we're a big boy country, right? So we should have an airline which is a reflection of that. And I think last year we, for the first time, crossed the $10 billion revenue mark, which was an important step for IndiGo. Indeed, the financial rating was a very important step for us, given all the financial sort of deals we have to make for getting the fleet in. So it's just a reconfirmation of how solid the company is. It is a very, very diligent process you go through. So for us, these were very important milestones to reach.
I recognise that. And so do your financiers and your investors. But just, you know, keeping hold of that cost leadership, that's your roots. How do you do that when you are diversifying, when you are going so fast? The investment required is large. You know, what's your thought on how you keep a tight grip?
Well, just to underline the importance of cost leadership, and I think whoever sort of starts losing that focus, especially in the market as competitive as the Indian landscape,
and as price sensitive,
and the, well, call it value consciousness of the Indian consumer and the Indian market. So you need to keep a permanent focus on that, and I think IndiGo has been doing that. The next step really is to beef up our innovation efforts, where technology clearly is helping us. So, like others in the world, I think we are blessed with an incredible amount of people here which are talented, willing to move, willing to work in terms of technology and AI and all the things we're having. So one is, how can technology help us in doing that? I think another important part, and I mentioned that already, is whatever we're going to do in the field of MRO. You know, we have a lot of lease returns, we have a lot of maintenance, we keep our planes longer. I think India is blessed with thousands of fresh engineers every year, and the opportunity we're having. So we're going to build a huge facility in Bangalore. We've acquired the piece, and I think Bangalore is becoming a little bit the sort of eco-center when it comes to ecosystem, when it comes to aviation. We have today a little hangar here in Delhi, we have a little one in Bangalore, we're going to build a massive one there. So that is a way to keep control of our costs, especially looking what's happening on the global stage with labor shortages, all kinds of other problems. So re-insourcing some of that work, which I think historically made a lot of sense to have it done outside the airline and perhaps outside the country, to re-insource that back into the country, I think it's a great opportunity. So, and then the last part I would say is processes and technology. We started with a lot of digital tools and digital help and AI agents type of support, where increasingly, you know, our customer interactions can be supported by that. You know, today we're having 1 million customers every 3 days. We're going to double, which means we go from 3.5 lakh customers a day in the range to 6 to 7 lakh customers each and every day. That needs a lot of IT support, and there's perhaps no better country in the world to be than India to get that organized. So we're investing a lot in that at this point in time, and that should help us to keep that incredibly important cost leadership.
Thank you, Peter. Have we got a microphone down here? Have you got a microphone, sir? Let's get the microphone down here, Rhonda, please. The gentleman there with the nice moustache. You go. I see a lot of people in India have nice moustaches. So, gentleman there, tell us who you are. Please make it a question brief.
3 small points, Peter. Let me introduce myself, Jayant Baranwal from SPG Applications. What kind of maximum or minimum age of aircraft you plan to retain in your fleet? And you
Can we just have that one question first?
All right.
Keep it moving.
One smaller question. He said something sadly about supply chain. If you can elaborate on that.
Let me come back to the planes. I mean, IndiGo had a model where planes were taking on relatively short-term leases and then to be returned. That's not unique to IndiGo. Other airlines in the world have pretty much the same. And that model works extremely well until you reach a certain size, one, and until the rest of the world is becoming shortage in terms of manpower and facilities, and basically having just a couple of opportunities to do that maintenance done. So today we are a 430 airline operator, so that's, 430 aircraft airline, which is a massive number in itself. So that average duration of having planes in the fleet is actually moving up gradually. So it used to be 6 years, it's now going more to 8 and perhaps even longer going forward. A lot of the engine work can be done here in India itself. So I'm not putting a precise number on where it's going. With all our new fleet coming in, IndiGo will remain for the time to come the airline with the youngest average fleet in the world, but undoubtedly and undeniably the average age will go up, and that again can and should and will be supported by a very strong local MRO facility which we're building. When it comes to the sort of supplier chain, it's mostly around the engine side where basically parts of the engines, let me not go into the precise details, but parts of the engines basically are awaited to be delivered in order to make sure that the engines can.
So in terms of age, we can
No,
say average 6 years. All right.
Thank you for the question.
That was when it started.
I've got a journalist. Is there one of my journalist colleagues in the room? Are you a journalist, madam?
Yes.
Do you want to take the microphone?
Yes.
You know her, Peter?
Yes, I do.
Right.
I'm Jagrati from the Hindu. Peter, 2 questions for you. You mentioned XLRs, you mentioned A350s, and you mentioned an interim solution. I also want to know whether you're interested in smaller regional jets. That's question number 1. Question number 2, you've spoken about MRO, of course, we know about those plans. Are you also looking at setting up pilot training infrastructure, which we've seen Air India make some announcements on? Thanks.
Thank you. When it comes to the new fleet coming in, we have the. Could you kind of come back to your first question? Say again. First question.
Regional jets.
Regional, yes. Yeah. We have today 45 ATR aircraft in operation. 45-ish could be one more or less. With that, we're able to serve all the sort of smaller airports we wish to operate. We keep a keen eye on fleet development, and you know me by now, I will not make any speculations on further or future fleet developments going forward. We have 45 in operation. That helps us a lot in serving all these smaller cities going forward.
And we do have a session on MRO tomorrow, and Parache is speaking on that one. Thank you. So we'll get that one, and also pilot training. We have a session on pilot training tomorrow as well, and Captain Mitra is on that one. So we do have lots of IndiGo. Appreciate that, Peter. What time for? I think one more. Neelam. Sorry, Neelam first, and then.
Thank you, Mark. Neela Matthews, independent writer. Peter, has the Cape Town Convention been finally ratified? And because there is no clear talk about that. Thank you.
To my knowledge, it has, but the fact that you asked the question, perhaps I should double check that. But to my knowledge, it has.
And the reason that's important, Peter, is?
Well, it's important for all the leasing arrangements we're having in the country. And again, to my knowledge, it has, or it's in the process of, and perhaps it's the latter one, but it's moving at least in that direction.
Quick one, sir, if you want, just very quickly, then we're going to go on to the leads debate.
My name is Sanjay, representing Sunrise Mirror. So my question, you recently had a flight from Calcutta to China, right? There was much reported. So how do you see the competition? You know, what are you going to offer for the customer? What are you going to offer for the customer so that he continues, he switches on to IndiGo?
Well, the flight, first of all, is the first direct connection and reinstatement of a direct flight from Kolkata into Guangzhou. I think the fact that we have a direct connection is really an important asset, and clearly from Guangzhou it connects pretty much to the rest of India very seamlessly. That's one. And I think our three customer promises, affordable fares, on-time performance, and a courteous and hassle-free service will continue to be there, and also on these flights, clearly that's very key of it. In general, clearly, we are kind of diversifying our product, where the further we fly, we're adjusting it, and our flights to London, for example, have hot meals. Our flights to XLR will also be different than these flights, so we will diversify our product depending on the stage length. This flight with 5 to 6 hours is still within the sort of today's range of operation.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Peter, we're going to wrap it up there and go to the leaders debate. I just want to ask just an observation really. You know, you're running IndiGo 3 years now, strong shareholder, investment, sort of pretty good government that's backing an amazing market. Is this a dream come true for a European CEO that's used to not all of those things, shall we say?
Well, you know, I think today India is perhaps the, and if not the, then certainly one of the most vibrant aviation places in the world to operate. That's India. I could not have landed in a more exciting company than IndiGo. I mean, being warmly welcomed and sort of hosted by my colleagues at IndiGo, and basically it's like entering into a total new environment, which on a personal level has been wonderful and super exciting. And then to take a company which is extremely well known in India, to take it to the global stage as part of the rise of India, that is, you may call it a dream come true when it comes to your professional opportunities, and these opportunities are out there, I guess, not that often, and it happens. There's a few examples in the world where it happens, and for a whole host of reasons, this obviously is India's time. And then to have a company with such strong foundations and roots, and when I joined IndiGo, the transformation which was ahead of us is a very different transformation than you may find in some other companies. It wasn't broken, there was nothing broken, but it just needed to be prepared for the next stage of where we are going, and that next stage was internationalization, or is internationalization, and to together with my colleagues navigate that company through that next stage by all the expansions, the growth, yet keep a very keen eye on securing the basis. That is a fantastic opportunity. So yeah, I'm enjoying that.
I know you are, we can tell. And India's welcomed you with open arms, quite clearly. Please give it up for Peter.